Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today. Find my buttons. Now, I'll be talking to you guys today about systemic risks as well as insurance, looking at the role of insurance as well as the changing role of the intermediaries in the evolving risk landscape. Now, it's a big mouthful, but I'll break it down topic by topic, and hopefully by the end of the day, I'll leave you guys with a message. But before I get into the presentation, I'd like to give you guys a question that you guys can answer for me at the end. And if you don't, then I'll answer it for you. What happens when one person chases two rabbits? Just keep that at the back of your mind. So what is systemic risk? Systemic risk basically refers to risks that typically play out as a chain reaction in a system resulting from widespread losses to individuals, businesses, as well as countries. We've been through quite a few earlier on in the last 2 years. We've had pandemics, climate change, cyber risks, as well as political instability, etc. What are our challenges that we're facing? Looking at the whole landscape in our economy, we have macroeconomic, geopolitical, regulatory, which affects most of us in the room, as well as climate, which affects all of us in the room as well as our insurers. But most importantly, what I'd like to talk about is how do we go forward and look into the future? The need for hyper-tailored solutions has been highlighted by 3 of our speakers this morning. So that's something that we must always keep in the back of our mind. Our need for risk prevention, like Cass said this morning, as well as growing our advice risk, as well as the importance of skills in the market. Our earnings have come to a very volatile state, and like Cass also mentioned, traditional insurance has become too expensive, and you can't just buy a product off the shelf. Our challenges that are facing fragile economy, unsettled global operating environments, a slowing global economy, and in our very own South Africa, our insurance sector is poised for growth despite operational and structural challenges. Now, if we look at our NatCat, we've gone through such devastating times in the last 3 years that our reinsurers have put so much pressure on us that our reinsurance rates have gone from 1% to 2%, and in some classes all the way up to 10-15% of the premium written. Now, naturally, as insurers, it's not that easy to push it through to the market, but we've got hardening property rates that we have pushed through for the last 1.5 years with double-digit increases, and only with your help we're able to engage the customers and grow with them and get back to the normal technical rates. Inflationary pressures are also putting a lot of pressure on us and also giving us increased premium collection challenges. Corporate actions have gone through to address the non-profitable sectors, and hopefully over time we can balance it all back and have hyper solutions that work for our clients as well as the industry that we're working in. Our economy is also quite a big challenge. Every 2-3 weeks we hear about how the dollar is strengthening against the rand, and the rand's not getting any stronger. That just puts more pressure on our economy. We've grown 350 base points in the last 2 years on interest rates. I'm sure many homeowners will tell you that have bonded properties, how their bonds have gone from 10 to 20 to 15 to 18,000 rand a month, all in a matter of 2 years. And that all comes back to your disposable income. Without disposable income, the first thing people look at is curbing the insurance. So we need to look at what can we do as insurers and risk advisors and intermediaries to grow this base, to ensure that the insurance products are not a traditional, I get my money when I claim, but how do we build value into the system to ensure that clients can enjoy benefits throughout the whole life cycle. Climate change, we've already touched on this, as well as ever-present risk. Just examples of the latest disasters. We've had earthquakes in Turkey, Cyclone Freddy in Madagascar. We've had the highest average temperature across Europe and the US in history, wildfires in Canada, in US and Hawaii, rainfall leading to flooding in the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, KZN, and Western Cape. And funny enough, I sat with a colleague outside and they said, he just comes from the coast and he could not get into the water. So he paid for a 2-week-long spring holiday and it was so windy that he could not go out to the beach. This is how our world is evolving and changing. Risk is growing and changing. Therefore, I believe that we should also evolve and change to ensure that we can provide the solutions that clients can buy into and give them value throughout the life cycle. In a perfect storm, all of these systemic risks had to do a combination. We'd have very, very big trouble. It could potentially lead to a catastrophic event, and many insurance companies and reinsurers would not be able to stand belly up. I think our most favorite one is in the top right corner. We live through it every day, load shedding. I think that was also an opportunity for many businesses to arise and build up a new economy for people that do installations of solar power, renewable energy, and power storage. But I think for most of our consumers in South Africa, it's the hardest thing to live through and understand. And 80% of the world still doesn't understand what load shedding is. Why is it that we can provide power to 3 or 4 of our neighboring countries, but we are not able to maintain our own power? And I think our biggest fear coming from the perfect storm would be grid failure. If we had a total grid failure, how would industry and businesses survive? But that's a question we need to answer as we go along. Risk appetites are changing for reinsurers. This is just a quick slide to show you where the scatter's gone. We've got a few clients that are excited now to take new risks, but the majority of them have moved over to an increasing tolerance to different risks. So the market's continuing to be harder. This is now in all lines of business, not just in property and motor. We have reduced deployment of capacity and a gap for small insurers. So global uncertainties, inflation, sanctions, that's all led to reinsurers moving over to wording scrutiny. Them asking us, what do you mean when you mean this? What does this impact me in terms of capacity for catastrophic claims? And I think our recent court rulings and the rulings made by COVID have also led to us to understand that wording needs to be clear, understood, and that's where the importance of advice also comes in. We run a study on a yearly basis called the Insurance Barometer. Now, I'm not supposed to be sharing this with you now because the study hasn't been officially published, but I thought it very important for me to describe what it is that we have found. So we went through a series of 929 different individuals, different intermediaries, corporate, commercial, private, some tied, some independent, some national brokers. And this is the short summary that we had around what risks they've identified. So the top three risks to consumers for personal lines are load shedding, economic challenges, and social issues, according to the personal lines intermediary. Looking over to the commercial, I'd just like to bring your focus basically to point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, degradation of infrastructure, road, rail, and water. So as much pressures that we face in the personal lines are similar, but a new trend has come in from our commercial lines to say, what is it that is challenging us, what they fear the most, and it was how our infrastructure is degrading, how our roads are looking, and basically they don't have confidence in the system. So what do we do about it? What can we do about it? We have a program called the P4RR, Partnership for Risk and Resilience, And there's a lot of reading that can go on about it. But I wouldn't want to talk to every single slide. But we've partnered with government, just like Cass mentioned earlier, where we speak to different municipalities to see what it is we can do to help them upgrade the infrastructure, give better service delivery, all in aid to see what the customer can get out of. This is the basic theory, but our basic main aim and impact. We want to impact resilience in communities, we want to reduce the risks, and also reduce the impact on our insurance community. So what do? We had to build capacity within the market. We do proper risk assessments with our municipalities. We do proper risk reduction through different programs. We do risk awareness and customer education. That's the most important thing for us, for people to understand and know what it is that causes the risk, how to react when there's a fire, how to deal when there's a flooding. And all these add up to more aware consumers that are reactive when there's a problem and that are able to reduce the risk at the time of loss. I'm just going to quickly play a video for you to introduce the P4R program to those that don't know it.
Santam, together with the Mthunzini Trust, are on a journey to help identify municipalities, particularly those at risk of devastating effects of fires, floods, and drought. We do this through our flagship program, Partnership for Risk and Resilience, P4RR. The program was initiated in 2012 in response to the South African government's call for the corporate community to support critical skills development and capacity within municipalities.
So the Partnership for Risk and Resilience is Santam's flagship program to build institutional capacity for disaster management by focusing on fires, drought, and flooding, which are some of the prevalent hazards in our communities.
In collaboration with our partners, we co-create initiatives to enhance the institutional capacity of mandated organizations to effectively manage disaster risks. Some of the initiatives that are generally implemented by P4RR in partnership with municipalities include capacity building and development, such as equipment, awareness campaigns, early warning and communication tools and training. Providing equipment like skid units, supplying geographic information systems, installing smoke alarms in vulnerable communities, and conducting risk assessments in schools. Since the launch of this program in 2012, Santam has invested 100 million rand to support 82 municipalities. We've installed over 16,000 smoke alarms in selected high fire risk areas, reached 12.5 million people. We've trained over 400 people in firefighting, disaster management, and related training. Because we believe that every community should be empowered to reduce risks and be resilient to known local hazards, the program also focuses on community-level disaster risk awareness and education. To date, over 36,000 people have been reached in selected high-risk communities. We continue to collaborate with several partners across all spheres of government. During 2022, the program was independently reviewed, and the findings revealed that P4RR is making a positive contribution to disaster risk management and fire services in South Africa. Perhaps more significantly, it is doing so in areas of system failures and plugging important gaps by strengthening institutional systems, capacity building, and forging new cross-sectoral relationships. The P4RR program has significantly enhanced disaster management and fire services capacity for its partner municipalities over the past 10 years. We have witnessed the effects of climate change on the country's disaster risk profile and will continue to collaborate with government agencies to support selected municipalities with development of climate change adaptation plans. Working with our municipal partners, we will upscale community-level interventions to maximize ownership for improved risk management, consistent with the notion of social inclusion as articulated in the Sustainable Development Goals, leaving no one behind.
The changing role of intermediaries in an evolving risk landscape. It's been a tough 3 years, and I'm not going to go through all of these. We've highlighted most of them throughout the talks. We had CBI, Kaizen, we had the rights. Our friends from Sazria would be thrilled to have no more rights. Double-digit renewal increases, tracking devices installed because of theft of vehicles, active de-risking to manage the risks, and a tough approach to risk reduction requirements, and limited negotiation mandates. Our new risk model looks at a completely different way of doing insurance. The idea of repairing instead of replacing, commoditized risk transfer to collaborative risk mitigation, moving from product sale to product solution building, client value moving over to be throughout the whole life cycle and not only at claim stage, and reducing the cost of insurance over time. Now, we can only do this through your help, because your advice is very important. We can only leverage off the strength of your client relationships as well as ours to implement the importance of risk management. As risk advisors, intermediaries could bring more focus to the practice of risk prevention and mitigation as opposed to pure risk transfers. Ultimately, this will reduce the whole total number of claims for us, mitigating our losses. And that's it from my side. Do you have any questions?